Hello everyone, and welcome to the 7th devlog for Mini Golf Tycoon. This week is quite exciting as the game will be in version 0.1. If you don't already know, I've been naming the versions like 0.01, 0.02, etc. So the game already has gone through 9 versions, which is just crazy. So, I thought I would take a look back at all the different versions of the game up until now. I'm planning on doing this every 10 updates, so it will happen again in version 0.2. Here, in version 0.01, we can see the very humble beginnings of the game. It was actually just a test build to make sure everything was working properly. As you can see, we had a piece-based building system. It actually wasn't too bad, but some of the parts were a little disproportionate. The collision detection was based on the mouse's position, not the objects, and the ground plane was much smaller. Plus, to change perspectives, you click the little green button instead of pressing P. Moving on to version 0.02, not much has changed. This is actually the first build I published on itch.io, so I made one for WebGL and download. The only differences were that there were trees, and you could select and move stuff. In version 0.03, I added icons for the menu, and it seems that I got rid of checking the placement of an object completely. I also added a little guest guy that just wanders around. In 0.04, actually quite a few things have changed. The menu is now split up into tabs, and a new rock model has been added. Plus, the check placement system was reworked, so it uses colliders instead of the mouse. I'm not exactly sure what I did in version 0.05, except I might have added trails to the golf balls and another rock. In 0.06, however, there were a lot of changes, the biggest one being the new spline-based building system. There was also the addition of notifications and a non-spinning windmill. 0.07 came with a fence model, a loop, and a ramp with variant options. Also, the windmill spins. It also came with the addition of new UI colors and menus, and the ability to place down a little hole for the golf ball to go into. 0.08 came with AI improvements in entrance and music. And in version 0.09, the most recent version until now, added a time system, lamps, and the ability to select the guests. Now, that has been quite the journey. I've probably messed up on a few things as to what was added in what version, but I think it's close enough. But I actually have added stuff for version 0.1, so let's get on with the devlog. I felt that since the game has been around this long, it needed a main menu, so I got to work on one. For now, it shows 2 different course prefabs spinning around, and I can add to this if I want to, and it has a play button. It gives off that alpha feel, and I'm quite proud of it. Next, it was time for the Discord feature. This week, the options were the same as last week with the addition of ability to place holes in course pieces. I kinda have a feeling that boost pads would win. If you want to be a part of this next week, click the link in the description to join my server. I started with making the code, which was extremely easy. All it does is it takes the ball's speed and pushes it along at a force multiplied by the ball's speed. But then I went and made a model for it on stream. But since I recently redid my file organization, I thought I would show you how I make an asset in Mini Golf Tycoon. First, I would start off with the modeling, but I've already done that, so I make a render of it for the icon, then export both. Then I import both into Unity into the respective folders. Then I change a few of the import settings, scale the model down, and apply the material, and put a collider on it. Then save it as a prefab in the same folder. Each asset has its own folder with all of its stuff, the model, prefab, extra scripts, variants, etc. And then in the folder, I make a new decoration or course piece scriptable object. These scriptable objects hold the asset's information, and it's really easy to set up. Then after making the scriptable object, I put it into the array it needs to go in, and then it will magically appear in the menu when you play the game. You can also place it down. It's that easy. Some people were getting frustrated with how many people were in their parks, getting in the way of building in smooth frame rate. So my first idea was to make a toggle for guest spawning, which wouldn't be too hard, but then I thought, why not just have them leave the park? So I went and made a new AI state called leaving. It'll just make them go back to the entrance to the park and disappear. I think it was a pretty good addition. Finally, I made a feature that I've been meaning to add for a long time. So you know how you can elevate the course holding shift? Well, if you want to place something on said course, it won't be rotated right and part of it will be floating. So I got the normal of the mesh using raycast_hit.normal and changed the rotation of the object using confusing quaternions and Euler angles. During development, I was getting some interesting bugs, but eventually it worked. So now the object you are placing will rotate with the mesh. Another thing you could call it is surface snapping. I'm probably going to make a toggle for this in the future. I think it's about time to end the video. Let me know in the comments if you have any feedback or ideas. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again next week.